Hey, welcome to the EthStaker call. This is community call number 21 with StakeWise. We're here to talk about StakeWise V3 product that's a new product that they're coming out with, and going to introduce everybody. This is SuperFizz. We've got Umvedika, got Buddha, Nolan, and the StakeWise team, and Thorsten way down there, and the StakeWise team, Kirill, Jordan, and we've also got Joseph Chow here. Joseph, do you want to introduce yourself?
Not on the YouTube, sorry. I just wanted to check out the Zoom chat if there's anything. Is that okay?
Cool. Yeah. So we will be doing an overview of the StakeWise V3 project, asking some questions. You guys should feel free to drop any questions in the YouTube chat, anything you want to know. Yeah, we're going to jump into questions. And does somebody, Fizz, do you want to talk about maybe why we're here, what the goal of the call today is?
Ooh, good setup. So you guys know the Beacon Chain launched like over 2 years ago now. And at launch, we had solo validators, people who were staking with 32 Ether. And at that time, it was kind of like within the grasp of a normal human to come up with, you know, a couple $1,000s and start a validator. At that time, we also had some pools and providers who offered to take Ether from people and stake on their behalf. We didn't have anything like any fractional staking solutions that were actually beneficial to the health of the Beacon Chain. Because many staking solutions, if they're custodial staking solutions, they essentially custody your funds, take your votes on the Beacon Chain, and kind of do as they please. Many of them have nothing at stake, which means that they're taking funds, but if they lose them, they're like, hey, man, terms of service. Sorry about your luck. And so we, as EthStaker, have been working hard to identify staking services who are beneficial to the staking community, who in many ways give more than they take, who decentralize the Beacon Chain, who allow the community to operate nodes, and really for those Ether votes to stay in the hands of the community and not get funneled up to these big industry players who may not act in our best interest. And so EthStaker has been aligned with StakeWise for a long time, and really like kind of looking for a product that we could, you know, feel really great about being good for the health of the Beacon Chain. And so that's what brings us here today. The StakeWise V3 product is something that, while it's not released, we're learning about it. We're very optimistic that it can be a thing that is beneficial for the health of the Beacon Chain, beneficial for the community, and overall beneficial for Ethereum. So that's how we got here.
Great,
Fantastic.
thanks.
Well, thanks for the intro. It's a pleasure to be here.
Kirill, can we start with the most basic of things? When does V3 launch? When is the migration complete?
Good question. I wish I knew the specific date, but unfortunately I don't. With that being said, we are targeting late this year, early next year for the release. And as it always is with the big product launches like these, there's a lot of moving goalposts. Some of them are related to the success or the failure of the testing. So, for example, there will be a testnet launching soon for vaults, and depending on how well this goes, depending on how long we need to run that, this will inform the sort of next steps in our development. There's also audits, and then there's the sort of feedback process with them. So all in all, I'd say late this year, early next year, but it's always a moving target.
Nice. I kind of like in the Ethereum ecosystem that it's ready when it's ready. We're not going to shoot for a certain date because it might not be ready by then. We want it to be perfect.
Absolutely. But also I should say that I think one desire on our end that we haven't fulfilled yet is actually lining up the, let's say, precise steps that we feel would take us to completion. And perhaps if we don't set a target date, then perhaps we outline the steps that we need to take before us and the community can be confident in the product that's being launched. And so this is something that we definitely want to announce as soon as possible. But overall, yeah, no specific date.
Cool. So can you give us a very broad overview of what changes from the current StakeWise model to V3?
Absolutely. And actually a quick question whether I can share my screen because I have some helpful slides with me.
Yeah. There. You should be allowed to now.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, you should be able to see it now.
Yep.
Coolio. Let's start the slideshow. All right. So yeah, to talk about StakeWise V3, I think it's a response to centralization pressures that we're seeing on Ethereum. The problem with let's say the existing major liquid staking services is that they do cause an inflow of ETH that goes to roughly the same node operators, and this is not ideal. There's a rocket pool that is looking to.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt you. Now we just see a loading screen.
Ooh, that's not nice.
It was when you clicked on slideshow. Maybe just go back a step.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, how about this?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool. Yeah. So again, there is a sort of centralization dynamic that is related to how the major liquid staking pools are set up, the permissioned node operator set, and let's say the need to rely on commercial node operators, and the efforts that let's say the other participants in the ecosystem are taking, like Rocket Pool, we think are commendable, and we certainly do think that over time they will help tilt the scale back in favor of decentralization, but we'd certainly also like to play our part in that. And so what we have come up with is StakeWise V3, which is a product that creates an open marketplace of nodes, let's put it this way, and creates a composable liquid stake deferred token layer on top of these nodes, so that one, you could actually stake with whoever you like, and anyone can become a node operator. And at the same time, regardless of, let's say, the different risks that staking with an anon on the internet, regardless of the risks that this brings, we still want to have a composable liquid stake deferred token on top of that. And that is achieved with overculturization of OSETH, the new token that we'll be releasing. And so the goal of this product is to actually supercharge solo staker participation in Ethereum's in the beacon chain and in staking, both as solo operators that stake for themselves and also as solo operators who stake Ether on behalf of others. And I guess the different components of StakeWise that we could talk about help achieve that goal. Let me know how you basically want to proceed. I can go on, but I'd be very happy to address the specific questions that you have.
Just for the sake of sound bites, can you summarize in like 1 or 2 sentences what the main difference of V3 is?
Sure. I think the main difference is that there is no longer a permissioned node operator set that StakeWise currently has. So right now, our DAO is responsible for choosing which node operators host the validators that are created on users' behalf. And in V3, this model will be opened up to the users, where they will actually choose which node operators they would like to stake their ETH with. What we call this open marketplace is a vault network. So anyone can come in and run a vault, and this could be, let's say, a solo staker running their node from home. This could be a staking company that is, let's say, diversifying their revenue streams and would like to receive some delegations through StakeWise V3. This could be partnerships between staking companies and solo operators, which are enabled by technology like DVT from OBOL or SSV. And of course, this could be, let's say, different organizations that are very new to staking and would like to offer staking services downstream by subcontracting the actual staking process to somebody else. I do think that's pretty flexible in terms of what it allows to do, StakeWise V3. But the core concept is that as long as you can run nodes, or at least as long as you can follow the instructions that we give for running nodes and can use the application we're developing to simplify the process of running nodes, you can open a vault and either stake yourself in it or, and accept delegations from others. And then it's up to the users to choose which vaults they go for. Once they've done that, they can mint an OSETH token for DeFi, no matter which vault they staked in. So I think this is the main difference.
So, oh, go for it.
I wanted to hop in and say, when Kirill first brought up the idea of StakeWise V3, I don't know if he remembers my first question, but my first question was, does it allow permissionless operators? And that's the big thing that we need from these decentralized products, that operators are not permissioned, that there are not, an application you have to fill out and KYC, and then you're staking other people's ETH without having something at stake of your own. This model of permissionless validators that have something at stake is really what I think is what ought to be the foundation of this second generation of staking pools, that the operators are community members, maybe they're industry, but they do have something at stake, and they're not permissioned and selected operators, they're self-selected operators. So that's exciting to me.
Yeah, completely agree. And when it comes to, let's say, how to make sure that more solo stakers participate in this system and in general in staking as essentially just node operators rather than people who stake ETH for themselves, there are a bunch of, let's say, levers we can pull within the system in order to enable that. I do think that there's still going to be some sort of trust assumption involved, to the extent that people, let's say, the majority of people, I would say, still prefer just the safety, just the psychological safety, I think, of working with someone that they have perhaps ID'd, but we don't actually want it to stay this way. So we're looking for ways to find additional levers we can pull. So one of them is, of course, collateral. So you should be able to add some more ETH into your vault as collateral in order to signal to others that you're willing to do a good job. You should also be able to stake in your own vault and show this way that if this vault does go down, that then your money is also at stake. So that is another lever that we're pulling. Third, there's DVT. So we kind of think that diversifying between different solo operators for like a single vault is actually very, very useful. And would like to see solo operators coordinating to create DVT arrangements to run vaults in V3. I think it's actually a very, like, EthStaker community is actually a very good place that we, believe should sort of start coordinating solo stakers creating vaults, purely because of the fact that the concentration of knowledge about how to do this, as well as just the mission alignment, is unmatched. And there's already a community, let's say, around running nodes. So no better place to find people to run your nodes with than on EthStaker. And on our end, we'll do our best to rally the community behind the idea that solo staker vaults are as good or better than commercial node operator vaults for staking your ETH. because A, B, and C. So that's really our take.
So would you say that Vault is synonymous with a node that an operator runs?
I would say that it's synonymous with a mini staking pool. So a vault can be different node operators, be they solo stakers or commercial operators or groups of both, sort of running the vault together and splitting the validators that are created in that vault between each other. And we do think that over time, it's probably beneficial to run vaults together with others just to maximize, let's say, the coverage of potential stakers, just like in terms of marketing, in terms of potential capital that you use as collateral, or in terms of capital that you just stake in your own vault. Plus, because of the fact that it will likely improve your score that we assign to every vault. In case you run DVT, this will improve your score.
Can you talk a little bit more about that score? What are all the variables that go into that score?
Sure. So let's say the final variables that will go into the score are actually up to discussion by what we call a working group on the scoring model. We, of course, as a team behind V3, we'll make a proposal to, let's say, this group and the DAO on how to arrange this. And what we're thinking with regards to what should go into the score is your typical stuff, like the performance of your node. So attestations and proposals, whether there have been any misses, and the average performance over time, and then information that we can pull from the chain or from other data that is relatively verifiable. Like, for example, whether you're running your node let's say from home or from a cloud environment, stuff like which client you're using, and going forward also which relay you're using, because we think it's also pretty important. And then beyond that, there's also considerations like, do you use DVT or not? Do you provide any additional collateral or not? Is there an ETH deposit that's been made into the vault that has come from the same address that is either running the validators for this vault or has created the vault, to sort of signify that you've put your own money at stake in that vault? Things like these will go into the score, and the actual weights, as well as, let's say, the final parameters, are still to be determined. But at least I hope that my response gave the general direction in which we're thinking.
Yeah, will solo operators be able to see exactly what is affecting their score and
Absolutely,
what they can do to improve it? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually just today that we have been discussing the application we're developing to simplify the job of spinning up nodes and managing them for StakeWise. And we want to include the breakdown of the score as well as its evolution over time into the application, so that it's easily manageable, sort of trackable, and can be acted upon.
Just to jump in as well, one of the other variables that we're thinking about adding in the scoring system is the percentage share of the beacon chain that an operator currently runs. And so the whole idea of the scoring system is we want stakers to come to StakeWise and be able to tell which are quality vaults to stake with. And one of the ways that we can help push decentralization through this protocol is by actually reducing the score for node operators which already have a significant share of the beacon chain. And by significant, I mean even like 0.5% share of the beacon chain. And so this is one of the levers that we can suddenly pull to help push stakers. The goal is to push stakers towards quality, smaller node operators. That's the ultimate goal for this operator scoring system.
I could not love that more.
Yeah. Can I ask a bit of a non sequitur question? So first, I love the idea of the scoring system. I think it is extremely valuable. I wonder, we hear so much from people running Windows that they want to run a staking setup on their hardware. And as somebody, I'm obsessed with Linux. I believe that Windows is inferior. I think that there's a really big opportunity to pick up the gamers who would gamify this and work hard to get, that top tier score. Is there any potential of adding Windows as a client for this?
I never like to overpromise and undeliver, so I wouldn't be able to give you a sort of a categorically positive answer. But I think I think our team is very capable of solving difficult challenges. And if creating something for Windows has been a challenge before, we'll certainly take a look at it and see how we can tackle it. In general, our goal ultimately with V3 and with whatever, let's say, auxiliary applications we create for it is to increase the participation of solo stakers in the network. If this means that Windows should be supported, then I absolutely think that there should be a Windows application. So let us take a look at it, and we'll come back with a specific answer.
Thanks for your openness. Just because as I hear you describing that, it does sound like maybe not everyone's concept of a game, but the gamification of that rank, of that score, really does lend itself to people who just love tweaking to get a higher rank. And I really see that as a big opportunity for Windows users. So thank you for considering it.
Of course. I would also say that of the different levers that you can try and pull in order to improve your score and let's say achieve the let's say being placed in the top rankings, there's going to be weights. And if there's someone that's listening and would like to participate in thinking about the score and sharing their thoughts on what's important for this, then we invite you to join the working group on the scoring model. It's going to be opened in the next 2 weeks, so that your opinion is going to be heard, and you could actually be a part of a group that's helped shape StakeWise V3. So,
and where should they go for that?
I think the best place to go for that, as well as for participation in the testnet, is on our Discord, and look for updates in the StakeWise V3 channel. On top of that, we are actually working on a landing page for StakeWise V3, because we kind of need a central place for keeping all the information and letting people sign up for various activities that are related to its development. So from that perspective, once it's live, we'll also let everyone know.
Cool. So since anyone can be an operator in StakeWise V3, how do people get involved right now to ensure that they can become a V3 operator?
Yeah, I think the testnet is, let's say, the closest that there is to actually trying the system live. So right now, what we're doing is putting finishing touches on the contracts for the vaults, and working on the UI that allows creating a vault as well as managing its, let's say, performance. So once that is live, the testnet is going to be the place to try V3 and the running vaults. We also want to get people from the OBOL and SSV community involved in this, as well as Avado and DAppNode. Is actually like the latter two. I have not yet spoken openly about this yet, but the first two, we definitely want these communities involved, because these technologies and when it comes to Avado and DAppNode, these devices are the key to unlock solo operator vaults in V3 that can generate massive deposits just based on the stability of their performance, as well as the reduced trust assumptions thanks to DVT. So in case you're already participating in these communities, I think it's worth bringing your pals over in order to try out what it is like to run a vault, and I'm pretty certain that it will turn into a sort of full-fledged revenue stream for those who act on the opportunity.
Nice. Do you guys have any idea of like right now of how many node operators you'll get when you go live? I assume that you can kind of tell from the test nets.
Yeah. The thing is that we have been talking about V3 for the past month, for roughly 5 weeks. And I think in the time, over this time, we've had a rate of signups on our Discord that is considerably higher than what it used to be before. Also, thanks to your guys' support. So we really appreciate that. And if that's any indicator, then we're looking at good numbers for the testnet itself. Jordan, as well as myself, we have been doing some work behind the scenes as well to sign up, let's say, various either groups or organizations for the testnet. And so we will see when the testnet launches, but it's certainly an exciting development that the people that we come across and talk about and talk to about V3 are super excited about. So this makes us excited.
Cool. So we talked about sort of on the operator side how the scoring will work. How does the user make an informed decision on what vault they want to use? Do they see, when they see a score, do they see like this person has a low score because they have too much of the beacon chain, or do they just see an overall score?
Yeah, I think it would be important for just transparency reasons to see the breakdown of the score and the different and assess yourself how different components shape into the final score, so that perhaps some considerations you personally do not consider very important, and because of that you will sort of not take them into account, but will consider, let's say, the presence of collateral or the performance as important. So we definitely want to give people an opportunity to compare the components of the scores with each other, rather than just, let's say, the overall score. But I do think that the total score is the flagship sort of figure that's going to be represented in the UI. And generally, this is the, let's say, task of the scoring model working group to come up with such weights that the final score is actually the most indicative of the quality vault, rather than the, let's say, individual components.
Because
I have a slightly off-topic question. How's the user experience for someone who wants to create a vault? Because I just know how the Rocket Pool smart node works, where people can just create it through their own, like through the smart node. Do you guys plan to build something similar, or how does it look like from a user experience?
Yeah, we're already building that. So it's actually just today that we've been going over the workflow for the application that helps spin up nodes. The vault creation is actually something that we plan to have in the UI, based on the fact that the final step for creating a vault is actually signing a transaction that deploys a vault. And embedding this into an application is, let's say, additional work that would rather avoid. So the creation of the vault, the process for creating a vault, is going to be straightforward, where you choose whether it's private or public. Actually, I think I have a slide on this.
And how do I signal being part of it? Like, do I change my withdrawal credential? What does this look like?
Yeah, so to answer the first question, just to finalize my answer, I guess, when you go for the process of creating a vault, you choose various parameters for it. They can be public or private. When it's private, only whitelisted users can deposit into it. And this is required if you don't want anybody else depositing into your vault other than yourself. There's also going to be a choice of the name of the vault, of the fee in the vault, of the maximum capacity of the vault, which is the total number of ETH that it can handle, as well as the name of something we call a VLT token, which is something that represents your share of the vault. So for example, if you wanted to create something like a EthStaker staking pool, where you run nodes for your members, and you actually don't want to use StakeWise's own token, but you want to have some sort of liquid staking product, then what you will be able to do is brand the vault as if it were your own. So set the name of the token and the logo for it and the ticker for something like ETH, which is EthStaker ETH. Choose the fee, have a description for it that talks about its affiliation with the EthStaker and things like these. And that's something that we actually want people using in order to personalize the experience for them and also for people that they're looking to attract. Because ultimately, running nodes is kind of commoditized, and there needs to be a way to stand out and differentiate. So customization options are certainly going to help with that. When it comes to your other question, which was, sorry, I forgot. What was it?
Me too.
Withdrawal address. How do you change the withdrawal address?
All right.
Oh yeah, the question was like, how do I signal being part of the vault? Like, is it just me sending my transaction fees there? Is it me having the withdrawal credentials set to the vault, or?
Yeah. So the way it works is that you must create validator keys in advance for a certain number of validators that you're planning to run in the vault. And you're going to upload them to IPFS, and we'll verify for the fact that you've chosen the appropriate withdrawal address, which is going to be the address of your vault. What?
Who is we? Like, who verifies it?
The system. It's not people. It's automatic.
Like, is it an oracle or?
It's oracles, yeah. So there's going to be, I think, 11 oracles, and a certain threshold is going to be required to, let's say, verify that there is an address that's been set for the validator keys, and that this address matches the address of the vault to make sure that staking is non-custodial.
Okay, I think the answers like this answers most of my questions. One last question is like, what happens if someone tries to steal the transaction fees? I assume you just liquidate or like take away his initial deposit, right? And
well, the thing is that if there is a node operator that does not contribute any deposits into the vault and just runs validators on behalf of others without submitting any collateral, which is absolutely possible. If they decide to steal MEV, this is going to be reflected in the score, because we're actually going to monitor the relay, which means that we will know what the payload of the block that you proposed was, and if it's not reflected in the changing balance of the vault, then it means that you stole it, which means that your score will drop. And this should really inform the behavior of the users that have staked in the vault. If somebody stole MEV, then it means that it's a bad vault and you should leave it. And
but if we were to create an EthStaker vault and someone we don't know just steals MEV, does it make our vault bad? Can we kick them out somehow, or is our vault now screwed? So
do you mean that you
like
invite someone to be a node operator in the EthStaker vault and
yes,
they steal MEV? I see.
Yeah.
So what the vault owner can do is control the set of node operators that run validators for the vault. It's going to be a multisig that you create yourself. So depending on how many parties in that multisig are stealing MEV, you may be able to, or you may not be able to kick them out. If they're a minority and everybody agrees that they should be kicked out, they will be.
Okay, thank you. I think I blocked Fizz earlier. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you for questions.
I was probably rambling. I'm okay. I was a little curious about the lack of what appears to be an insurance bond, but I'm also not sure if maybe you want to address that.
Yeah. So with the vault system, because it is permissionless, you would expect, or perhaps we've seen other applications for staking that require some sort of insurance to be posted. We don't want to make this a default because of the fact that if, for example, there is a group of people that is interested in staking in a certain vault, and for example, this vault is run by their friend, there is no reason why he shouldn't be able to do this if there is basically mutual trust involved. Ultimately, this is informed by the score. So if someone does have collateral, then it boosts their score massively over those who don't provide any collateral. And so because of this, ultimately the responsibility for choosing the vaults lies with the users. And if there is slashing involved in a certain vault and there was no collateral, then that's basically on you. You have chosen this vault and you've kind of accepted the risk of this happening. There is, however, a proposal for SWISE tokenomics that went out end of last week that would essentially incentivize providing SWISE tokens as collateral to ensure vaults. And the way it is proposed to work is that every vault will receive a share of the protocol fees just proportionately to its size in the system. So for example, if there is a vault that represents 10% of the total OSEF tokens that have been minted in the whole system, then it's going to receive 10% of the protocol fees that will go towards compensating insurers. And then anybody who holds SWISE will be able to analyze what this vault is like. So do extensive due diligence on it, or maybe just ape. It's on you guys. In order to insure it with your SWISE. And that's basically a mechanism to introduce some utility for SWISE, where it starts acting as an insurance asset, as well as it gives some sort of real yield narrative where you start receiving protocol fees in exchange for insuring certain vaults. So what we foresee happening is that because there is kind of like a security budget for every vault, what's going to inform the amount of insurance that's been provided to any of these vaults is the riskiness. So people will contribute more SWISE to those vaults that they consider relatively riskless, and provide less SWISE to those vaults that they consider relatively risky. And this is going to inform the APRs that people see. So the risk and return trade-off is going to influence the size of bonds in different vaults. And we actually see that this sort of additional due diligence that is being conducted by SWISE holders is hopefully we think that it's going to help inform which vaults are good and which vaults are bad. It's just, let's say, market dynamics that we'd want to open this up to. But this proposal is in its very beginning. So in case you're a SWISE holder, feel free to leave a comment. If you're someone that's learning about this for the first time, go on and read more about it. It's just something where we're considering. It's not final.
I have a hypothetical scenario. Say that EthStaker is running a vault, and we have a high score in everything except for that we have way too much of way too much ETH in terms of like percentage of StakeWise stake.
Mm-hmm.
If users can see that and the operator can see that, can't the users just be like, well, I don't care about that metric? And what happens when EthStaker controls 80% of staked StakeWise stake? Is there a mechanism to deter that, or do you think the entities have an obligation to limit their control over the total share of validators?
I think it's an interesting question, and I don't think that we have fully considered it, because it's been very, let's say, open to market forces in the thinking that we have. So one thing that Jordan has mentioned is that there's going to be a score dilution in case there's a big share of the beacon chain that some vault controls. So that's going to impact the score negatively. But if this doesn't stop people from depositing into the vault, we have been considering dynamic changes to a component called LTV, which is loan to value. And this component actually informs how many staked Ether tokens you can mint when you deposit into a vault. So essentially how much of your stake you can make liquid. And so for the vaults that have too large of a share, it's possible to make this LTV lower so that there's a disincentive to continue staking into it. However, there's a technical difficulty involved in how much gas this consumes, because when you're talking about thousands of vaults that need to be updated, where this parameter has to be updated dynamically, it's a huge burden on the platform in terms of the gas consumed. So we're looking to, let's say, find an alternative solution. But to be honest with you, we have not yet pondered this question very seriously. There are some initial ideas, but nothing specific.
How easy is it for users to switch between vaults?
It's a matter of unstaking. So
Like
when withdrawals are enabled, it's a matter of passing through the exit queue. Before withdrawals, I don't think that it's possible to leave a certain vault with the ETH that you staked, but it's possible to mint OSETH tokens, convert them into ETH, and put this ETH into another vault.
So if I deposited 16 ETH into a vault and they're staking, I couldn't unstake because I don't have access to send the exit transaction, but I could sell my tokens and exit that way, but the vault continues staking. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
How will it work post withdrawals?
Post withdrawals, I mean, the route where you sell your OSETH on the market and take your ETH elsewhere is still available, but there's also a direct withdrawals route where you just come into the vault and say that you want to redeem your VLT tokens for ETH that you staked and earned. And the system automatically calls an exit for the validators, and you reclaim the ETH that used to be in them.
What if I like only have one ETH in there? What if I want to recall one ETH from the vault that I'm staking in?
Yeah. I do think that for situations like these, we basically have some reserve amount of ETH that would allow us to just redeem directly without exiting a validator, because otherwise it's just pretty painful to unstake a whole validator for one ETH.
Mm-hmm. Cool. quick question. I know Verahash recently decided to leave as a StakeWise operator. Does that affect V3 at all?
I don't think it does directly, but what Verihash have mentioned is that the reason for their decision to leave StakeWise is a conflict of interest between what we're developing as StakeWise V3 and they're developing internally. So seems to be something that can indirectly influence StakeWise V3 by means of just existing. There seems to be a system that potentially conflicts with StakeWise V3. So we're just going to see what it is.
Cool. Anybody else got any questions before we do POAP and close up?
I see
Alright,
Dimitri
cool.
hanging out. Did you want to say anything, Dimitri? I know you came a little late.
Yeah. Hey guys. Sorry, I had like a panel here at Staking Summit. Yeah. I'm not sure if you have like any more like technical questions. I can help answering them, but I think yeah. Not much to add here to what Kirill just said. I think it was like pretty much covers everything.
Our intention, I think today is really to just get an overview without getting too technical, because it's so easy to get stuck in the technical weeds and miss the big picture. And so I think, I do think we have a great view of the big picture. I wouldn't say we've answered every question, maybe in many cases created more questions, but I do have a really good, I guess my vibe check is good. Like I like where this is headed and I'm optimistic about it. And if you've watched previous calls, I don't say that every time. I do have a lot of high hopes for the StakeWise V3 product. And as I see that in the big picture, it is that we need a lot of StakeWise type products, a lot of Rocket Pool type products, a lot of DVT type products that kind of chip away at these custodial providers who are money focused and not community focused. So I'm really excited to see StakeWise developing this.
Thank you. I mean, we ourselves have pretty high hopes for it, and we're very grateful for the opportunity to showcase what we have been working on here on the call. I'm just going to mention that I've prepared a huge ass presentation that covers the different aspects of it. Pretty high level, but I think it would be an interesting, let's say, read for anyone that's looking to get an up to speed on what V3 is and how it applies to them as a solo staker or as a usual staker. So with your permission, I'm just going to leave it in the EthStaker Reddit for anyone's interest.
I will
Sounds great.
even sticky that. Like I'm excited about that. This we need more. We need more products that espouse these values. And so I think part of EthStaker's role is to really give the spotlight to projects that are doing things that are aligned with our shared goals. So yeah, I totally look forward to you sharing them. And I don't want to jump the gun. Like what I have now, what I think all of us have now are preliminary understandings. We still have several months for all of this to unfold. But I guess what I see, like, I expect to find irritants and be like, oh, well, that's not something that I love. But overall, I do think that the product is correctly aligned with the goals of the ecosystem. So that's what excites me.
Yeah, I mean, we always like to execute first and then talk about what we've done. I think this time we're taking a little bit of a different approach because historically it's not served us well to be low key on marketing. And I think for the purposes of this product, there is, let's say, less marketing and more community involvement that we want to do. We want people to actually use StakeWise V3 as an opportunity to support the network and also support their own, let's say, interest. It's best at aligning interest between various participants. So again, solo stakers, if there is a desire to run validators for others, it's worth trying to do through the vault system and StakeWise V3.
Sweet. Ambedika, do you want to go through the POAP
Yep. I'll do that.
logistics? Cool.
Yeah, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're viewing us from. For today's POAP, the community call number 21, what we'll be doing today for distributions, you'll send 2 DAI, USDC, or RAI to EthStaker CC.eth. That can be made on mainnet, Ethereum, Polygon, Optimism, or Arbitrum. So if you are wanting to save on gas, please look up those L2 transactions. You have a full 24 hours to make that transaction. We'll cut it off midnight tomorrow, so actually a little bit over 24 hours. So you got plenty of time to make that transaction. Again, 2 USDC, DAI, or RAI to EthStaker CC.eth. And then what we'll do is we'll collect those wallet addresses and distribute those via POAP.delivery. Quick caveat to that distribution method: this should be the last community call in which this is manually distributed. We will be eventually adopting the official POAP.checkout system, which is a much more automated distribution system, meaning once you make that transaction, it's automatically distributed to your wallet. So if there happens to be any one-offs where you miss a POAP because of this manual distribution system, fret not, we got this under control. This should be the last one, so just please bear with us on that. Real
The
quick,
updated POAP checkout is awesome, isn't it?
it is pretty cool. It's a sweet system. I'm excited
So
for it.
a lot of people have used POAP checkout. It's a system developed by Mentor. It worked really well, but they have overhauled it and doubled down. So the next version that you see is just gonna rock your world. So that's awesome.
In fact, it's a really good transition. A real quick community update before we wrap up here. We do have EthStakers hosting the ENS DAO 1-year anniversary. That is happening at 8 p.m. UTC, roughly 2 hours from now, I believe. And the reason I bring that up is because if you are so curious as to grab yourself another POAP, we will be having a ENS DAO painting party POAP, and that will be distributed in the POAP.checkout. And just a quick correction, that is in 2 hours.
1 hour. 1 hour.
1 hour?
from now.
1 hour? 2 hours? 1 hour.
1 hour from now.
1 hour from
Unless
now.
you watch this an hour later. If you watch this an hour from now,
Correct.
It's now.
wait, yeah.
Regardless.
Use relative timing.
Yeah, it'll be on EthStaker's channel. Just tune in there.
Click notify me. Oh my, someone just posted a graph. Yeah. Okay.
All right, that's it
Don't
for
look
me.
at the charts today.
All right. Thanks for joining us, StakeWise. We're Kirill, Jordan, Dimitri. We were really stoked to talk to you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us.
Ciao.
I bet we'll do a few more of these too. This is a good introduction to the system. So I look forward to doing more of these as things evolve.
Would love to do that. Thank you
With
very much. Looking forward
screenshots.
to it.
Thank you.
Bye all.